What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Atheist Roundtable. We're going to have a great night tonight. We're going to have a bunch of fun. My name is Oz, and I'm your host. And right here is my co-host, JMike. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? I feel like I've kind of left out something at the beginning of the shows recently, trying to get into the rhythm, so to speak, of things. But for anybody that's watching the video in the future, now or whatever, past, if that's even possible, if you have any, if the reason why you're stumbling upon these videos is because maybe you have trouble with your faith or something in that nature, reach out to recoveringfromreligion.org if you're coming from a former faith position, or if you just are looking for a secular type of therapy, look into the Secular Therapy Project, and then also you can extend that into the Clergy Project, which does some pretty amazing things. But I felt the need to get that out of the way because I think I skipped it on the last two episodes, and I was kind of pissed off at myself for doing that. But usually we try to plug those because they're great resources for the real meat on the bone, so to speak.
For sure. And for those that didn't get to see last night, we had a great episode last night. And JMike, one of our favorites that I know you and I and Pasta and the others we listen to a lot, being Mr. T Jump, jumped on for no pun intended for 20 or 30 minutes or so with us last night. That was awesome. What do you think?
I didn't. Yeah, I was thrown off because I was just backstage, kind of like hand on here, just listening, and then all of a sudden I saw Tom come on. I was like, "What? Okay, we're doing this. That's cool." So I was excited just because, yeah, like you said, I look up to Tom, and he's been probably the more recent addition in terms of debates and things that I watch. But I guess I had a connection with his content because I was just like, oh, this guy explains exactly how I feel in a much more elegant and better manner. So I was drawn to it pretty quickly for me.
Yeah, no, he's got a really cool style, and I appreciate it. And T Jump, if you're a listener, listen in the future. Thanks for jumping in. We look forward to working with you again in the future. But let's get to our head nerd of the nerdery. Just Jeff, how are you this evening, my friend? Great. So that's what should come from Jeff is.
Oh, it's the mute Jeff movement. No longer mute Oz.
Well, it's good to see Jeff. So normally Jeff is on the screen. Oh, there we go.
There we go. Let's all remember that now Jeff has muted himself. So now Jeff has to unmute himself.
I'm not in charge of any of that. I'm just in charge of this.
We got to remember that we have primates working on our production. Like that is by definition, we have great apes working on the production. So that's our excuse.
It's true. And just like other primates, we need shirts, and you should be wearing a shirt if you're a normal piece of society in public. And what better shirt to have when in public than this one about circular reason? And what better shirt could you have? So head over to the website, tart.com or tart.live. There's some new merchandise. You can click here and go. You can get a nice little bracelet here, which I've seen Oz wearing.
Yes, sir.
And then also the limited edition Mute Oz t-shirt is there. Apparently we have a sale on the t-shirt. It's normally $26. It's now just $26. So before they're sold out, because also stickers and cups and hats. And I think the hat's actually underrated. And also the Circular Reasoning shirt is now in different colors. Also, if you want to pull up the upcoming schedule, you can see here where we're at tonight and what we have over the rest of the week. A couple shows on the way and actually a live debate as well. So I would definitely tune in for these. If you also want to be on the Atheist Roundtable and you need to find a way and you don't know what you're supposed to do, guess what? It's right here too. Sit at the roundtable, click the link, send an email to Austin, and we'll get you on the show. If you got something you want to talk about, let us know, and we'll see what we can do to work you in. Also, we've updated our podcast content, so you can watch some previous episodes and videos here, as well as some shorts that we've put together just for your entertainment. That is going to be all I got here. Let me switch back so you can see me. That's all I got.
Awesome. My favorite's the $26 price being 26. It's like the Mark conversation we had last night where it's like, well, we mean the same thing, but they're not the same thing.
This shirt is God. Literally, this shirt is God. If you purchase this shirt, you cover yourself with God. By definition, I define this shirt as God.
Well, what happened was I included tithe and offering on that, so that's why I went back.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So 4% is going directly to God.
That's what happened there. But no, as always, Jeff, thank you. You do a great job with that. We appreciate it, man.
Yeah, have a good look on the show, and don't mess up.
Oh, thank you. I don't. It's not in the plans, but we'll see how it goes.
Smooth sailing.
We'll see how it goes. But JMike, I am super pumped for tonight, and I know you are as well. And we have a great guest that's going to join us here on screen, and we are excited to introduce to you. A lot of you know him short as Drag, but Dragnauct. Welcome to the Atheist Roundtable. We're glad to have you, man. How you feeling?
Feel pretty good, guys. Man, I didn't know you guys had a merchandising manager. You got a producer. I got this stuff hooked up, man. This is actually a pretty good outfit y'all running here, man. I'm actually pretty impressed. Kudos.
Thank
you. No, we appreciate that. So we've been looking forward to having you on. I know the three of us have spoken, I think, on one or two different after shows on different shows, and I think we're gonna have a lot of fun tonight. And first thing, I kind of want to start this off with a fun question that has nothing to do with religion or atheism or anything. And Drag, I've watched a couple of your live YouTube feeds. There's a lot of hip hop in the background. So I never like to assume, but I'm going to assume you're a big hip hop fan or a hip hop head even.
Yeah, I don't go into all the history and know like the genesis of this genre, that genre. I grew up on a lot of Southern rap. So if anyone kind of wants to place me as whereas I kind of came into enjoying that sort of genre of music, think of like, I don't know, old school mystical and so make them say so yes, I had that album. I could recite word for word everything. So that's where I've sort of garnered an appreciation that I've kind of moved into a little bit of Lil Wayne. Carter 2, anything after the Carter 2 you might as well not even listen to, but that's sort of where I fell in love with that. And so I've moved into loving other genres of music, but primarily you'll hear me listening to hip hop, and on occasion you'll hear any different variations of what is known as I'm trying to think of a way to describe it. There's a genre of music that exists in Louisiana, and I'm actually, you know what? Before I even go into it, I want to let the people who are actually curious what this genre of music is, I want you to go look it up. I'm not going to describe it. It sounds nothing like rap, but it's unique to Louisiana. I want you to go look for it. And on rare occasion, you'll hear me listening to that sort of music because it makes me feel like home. So other than that, yes, you will hear me listening to rock as well because my wife, but yeah.
Okay. Well, that's what I jumped on one of your live shows earlier today, and I think at one point you had the I think it was the Drake and 2 Chainz song going. But my question for you is I'm a huge hip hop head myself. So my question for you before we get into anything else is, Drag, who do you think is the greatest rapper alive?
I'm still going to go with Wayne. I'm still going to go with Wayne.
And he even says it in his music. He even says it. Greatest rapper alive.
I'm going to go with Wayne. I know take it, but nah.
Yeah, and he dropped that little LP. Was it 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he's still bringing that fire. But no, I wanted to ask that before before we do anything else, just to have some fun. But before we go, and I'll turn over to JMike so he can dig in a little bit. Tell us a little bit. I know right now, I think you're either finishing up with school or finished up with school. Tell me where you're at. What are you studying? What's going on there?
All right. So recently I finished my bachelor's. So in about 2 or 3 weeks, it'll be official, all the bells and whistles and all that. But I am absolutely done with my undergraduate degree. And right now my graduate application to the School of Biotechnology is being processed. And so I've already spoken to the chair. She's actually a pretty good friend of mine, and I didn't realize that she was a chair. But she said, hey, let's do a Zoom call. And I said, hey, I still need to take my GRE. I still need to take, this, and this. And she's like, you know what? That's cool. I know you. I know you're competent. I know your skill. I know you've done undergraduate research in biochemistry with, Dr. M. So we're just going to waive the GRE. And I was like, I said, you can do that. I didn't know that you could just waive that. I thought that was a requirement. It's like, no. So I will be going to graduate school in the fall. And specifically, it's a degree in molecular biotechnology.
Awesome. Yeah, I kind of been trying to watch through different episodes that I catch you on to see where you're at in that process. Because one of the first times that I ever saw you on YouTube a couple years ago, when I kind of started my deconversion process, you were still kind of early on in your process. So it's been kind of cool to watch your story and all that happened for you. But JMike, what do you want to talk about, man?
Apparently bounce music is what we're going to talk about. I don't know. It's still there. So I wanted to more so try to kind of dive into that idea of people. So you're getting your education. I'm a computer programming major. I'm going to hopefully get to a better school and then get a minor in biology there. But let's say like someone like me or you, maybe they don't have money to go to school or just whatever means, or maybe they don't want to, or whatever it might be. Like, what do you think someone could do to educate themselves? Like, or better yet, what's the best way someone with the free resources available that someone can educate themselves in biochem or just biology or whatever it might be?
So I would say for it really depends on the field. So computer science is a bit easier since you could have various means of acquiring pieces of software for, through whatever means, and I'm gonna leave that open for a reason, and kind of practice programming. Whereas something like chemistry, that's going to be a bit more difficult because a lot of the stuff that you learn, it has to be hands-on. You can kind of go through simulations, but until you are physically doing like a titration, for instance, there's nothing like the actual experience. So I would say just for the foundational knowledge, a few things. Khan Academy is great. Like I will tell you all right now, when I first started on YouTube, I knew nothing about chemistry, nothing really about biology. And I wanted to hop in and tell people like Brett Keane that he was wrong because he's an idiot and he's stupid. But I did not have that foundational knowledge. So I ended up using a lot of Khan Academy to gain the foundation. And then I went on Amazon and they were like just kind of workbooks for intro to chemistry to learn the very basic, what is a molecule, how to write chemical equations and that sort of thing. And for biology, there were people who helped me gain knowledge. And that's a really huge resource that people do not utilize often enough, is that there are people who are actual autodidacts. And one of them was named Jade West, bless her heart. She has passed away, unfortunately. But she was a wealth, a font of knowledge. And so I was able to sleep through one of my biology courses because of just how much information I could passively absorb through her. So having that resource, having someone who already has the education is great. Khan Academy, for those who actually want to test their knowledge. YouTube is not the greatest resource unless you find lectures. If you find entire lectures for a course, do that. That's great. That is great. And other than that, there's kind of a few courses. I think Coursera is a pretty decent one, but for computer science, I'm trying to remember the resource, but there is one that they sell packets courses, and I can't remember what it's called right now, but a few of my buddies who have the same major as you, they're doing it in their free time. So again, it really does depend on the field that you're trying to go in.
Yeah, I think you plant a pretty good flag in the middle there, where it's like, at least in my degree, you hear about a lot of kids like, oh, I've been programming since I was 8 or whatever. And on your side, it's not like, especially if you're going to like biochem or something, you can't necessarily just be like, well, yeah, I was working with all this and I figured out and I came up with this hypothesis and I had a future testable prediction. And then you can't necessarily do all that. So there's definitely that line to be drawn. So because of that, would you say that, well, I guess let me put it this way. What do you think is taken out of biology? Clearly there's the evolution route we can go into and how that's interpreted in different ways and whatnot. But what do you think people who don't have the education, what do they fall into? Maybe I call it the flat earth trap, where like maybe you might think you're actually onto something and you're genuinely trying to understand, but there's some kind of prohibitive measure that you can't grasp the concepts. What do you think is like the most damaging thing that comes out of that mindset of interpreting it?
I think it's this idea that you can simply glean knowledge passively and then gain a mastery of it. And I see that a lot with people, whereas they'll pick, like a good example is evolution, and they may know a little bit of the jargon. And when you talk to them or you hear them, it sounds like, yeah, they kind of have a shibboleth, and so they may understand that topic. But when you sit down and you ask someone about some of the things that they're saying, ask them kind of to parse out the type of speciation that they're mentioning. So if they're a big advocate for, or I should say the species concepts, so like a biological species concept, when you start to ask them about the geographical constraints to these particular organisms breeding, they don't know what to say. They have no idea. And so people who understand the topic well, they know the drawbacks to particular theories. They're not just repeating lines. And it's really hard to spot that. Mm-hmm. But if you are trying to keep yourself in check, which you should always, always, always do, and I cannot stress this enough, surround yourself with people who are going to challenge you and not blow smoke up your butt, because far too many non-believers do that. They'll get in a circle of people who just say, oh, you're so smart. You spent a week on YouTube looking up lectures from Richard Dawkins from back in the 80s or something, or they listen to a debate and they'll just repeat stuff from the debate and they think that they understand the topic. Sure. And they don't at all. And it's kind of sad, actually. Yeah,
I see that a lot. It's almost like the Dunning-Kruger effect for just biology, in the sense that you think you know more than you would. And I watched a couple debates. There's a girl I just stumbled upon who Erica, who is like her personality, and that's like intoxicating, where you just want to keep listening, and then also her knowledge like that. But when she talks to and I don't. The name, I guess, isn't important, but she talked to one person. It was on Modern Day Debate, and I don't know if this was my own cognitive bias, but I could kind of tell this person, knows what they're talking about, and this person sounds like they have what you said, basically, like they learn these terms, they know what an allele is, and they know when presented certain arguments, they might be able to grasp concepts like morphology and things like that. But you can definitely see that line of difference in terms of the knowledge between the two. Do you think that those types of debates with evolution or creationism, like, do you think that really serves any vital role, or is that such a minority of people that it really is almost just a waste of time?
I could tell you, and I'll use Modern Day Debate as an example. There's a reason I don't watch it. It's entertaining. Don't get me wrong, and I'm not begrudging anybody who watches it, but I've participated and I've watched these things go down all the time. No one goes into those thinking that this is going to change my mentality. Nobody. Mm-hmm. And so if that's why you were going into watching Modern Day Debate, why not have people that have comparable levels of understanding and education on the topic, right? Because anybody that Erica speaks to, and I've watched a little bit of her, and she knows, her and like Jackson, they know what they're talking about. The people they talk to don't. Like Standing for Truth and some of these other people have no idea what they're talking about. And I can tell you from personal experience, I was one of the first people Standing for Truth spoke to. he has no idea what he's talking about. So if you're trying to learn, let's say if there was a debate, I'll give you a perfect example. People are arguing different ways to classify a species. One person says, well, let's look at what two organisms breed versus let's look at, let's say, the ribosomes of these particular organisms. Okay, cool. Both people would have to understand molecular biology on some level in order to understand, these concepts. Because if one doesn't, then what are you arguing? So I think it serves an entertainment purpose, and I think there's some things that people can learn from it, but the debate would have to be conducted as an actual debate and not some of these organized shit shows where you have pretty much someone is an invalid versus someone who has taken time and studied and learned it on the topic.
Sure. And that makes a lot of sense. I was kind of curious in that because, I didn't see you in that ring, so to speak, and I didn't want to draw the conclusion that necessarily like it might just be useless in that regard, or there's really no benefit. But you're right. Maybe the people, I guess, that have the education, they're probably more aligned with your views because them actually having the education, it probably is just the byproduct of it, right? Actually trying, I suppose, right?
Well, I think speak personally. Well, just as a quick note, I think having discussions are a bit more efficacious than debates. If I'm trying to convince someone, if I can sit down and just talk to them and work through why they have this position, rather than me trying to pre-plan some attack upon what I think that they're going to say, and then be constrained to 5 or 10 minutes to try and get all that out. That's not conducive towards anything other than entertaining people. Honestly. Yeah,
and I loved actually the video you did with Christian Watkins, I believe it was, where he kind of was like, I'm going to give you a few, just topics or concepts, and you're going to kind of give it to the layman and explain it to him. I'd love to see more of that kind of stuff. I know, Oz, you had something to say, but I'd love to see that kind of stuff more so than the debates.
Yeah, so we're going to bring one of our other team members on screen here in just like 2 or 3 seconds. But Drag, I do have just to kind of in our shift here to the next person coming on screen. I do want to ask, does G-Man take money from people?
Does he take money from people? I'm not sure. He does accept money. If you send him money, he will accept it.
But he says he doesn't, right?
Yeah, he says he doesn't, but there's video proof that he does actually. So yeah,
okay. I hope he wasn't paid for the modern day debate.
I wanted to make sure we were all clear on that because I've been keeping tabs. But no, Drag. This is Ben. You'll see that just popped on screen. Ben is the newest addition to the Atheist Roundtable squad roster team, and he's actually came to Pasta and the team endorsed by the one and only Anthony Magnabosco. So he has a big endorsement behind him. But he had his first episode and appearance with us last night. We want to bring him on screen. So Ben G. Atheist, how are you feeling tonight, my man?
Hey, I'm doing all right. I'm a school teacher, so we actually had work today. Still no kids yet, but we're getting ready for everything to go on. It's very nice to hear about levels of education and talking about things that we're knowledgeable about. And I love the fact that the last thing we talked about was just talking about things we're confident about. I only know music. Like, that's the only thing I'm qualified to talk about. So when I think about having conversations and being convinced about whether or not gods exist, I always have to ask, why do you believe it? And then talk about maybe the skepticism that I might have behind it if I'm not practicing street epistemology. So that's awesome.
Is Lil Wayne the objective best rapper of all time?
I don't know. I like Mac Lethal.
Just saying. Yeah.
So Ben, is there anything specific, any questions that you had for Drag?
Drag, have you heard of, do you practice street epistemology in your day-to-day conversations or online, or has that had an impact on you?
Sparingly. Back when SC was first getting popular, when people didn't even know who Peter Boghossian is, I was sort of on the ground floor of that as it became popular. And so actually I had a mini conversation with Arn about his attempts to use it. And then lo and behold, later he attempts to albeit poorly, to use street epistemology. He's a little too aggressive for SC, but he tried. There's a video where he tries, and I had to throw shit at Art. But there's a series of videos that I actually did with some Mormons that ended up coming to my door, and we had several conversations. And so I'm going over with them, and I'm trying to I try to parse out their epistemological toolkit. I want to find out how it is that they come to know what they consider true. What are the checks and balances for this system? Just the whatever the nuts and bolts are for how they come to the beliefs that they come to. And to no surprise, there's nothing that checks their belief. And when I kind of like overtly asked them about their confirmation bias or possible confirmation bias, nothing at all. It was that's the devil, and it's no, don't worry about it. Just have faith. And I said, okay, I think I heard everything I needed to hear.
So when they brought up faith, do you remember the line of, or just kind of how did you expose faith with them? And then do you remember how they responded, or was that even like a topic that you kept going with?
That was something that I kind of constantly brought up, and kind of the long and short of it is that you will find evidence for the faith that you put in, and here are verses from our scriptures that shows you that this character in this story actually found that him having faith and him taking that leap brought him fortune. And then when I said, hey, there are two possible worlds here, and I kept using two possible worlds example. Every event is the exact same. The same guy, same story. In world A, God exists and God made it happen. And world B, God does not exist and it happened anyway. How do I tell which world I'm in?
That's actually the question that made me realize I was not actually a theist. You hit the nail on that. Like, I remember the moment everything kind of was really fuzzy for me. And then I said, well, what if God doesn't exist? And then everything just kind of lined up for me. And so it's interesting that you used that question with them, because I distinctly remember 9 or 10 years ago having that moment. So that's a good question.
Yeah, it's simple enough that people can kind of grasp it, unless they're intentionally obtuse. But it's a pretty good tool to use. I implore people, please use that as an example, because most people will tell you, I don't know. Honestly, I just have faith that I'm in the one with God. Like that, I think that's the most honest answer that someone could give you, outside of, magic, hey. Well,
and I could appreciate that. And when I was first becoming an atheist about 2 or 3 years later, that's when Magna Bosco started putting out his videos. So I remember watching those first few videos and thinking to myself, this is the process I need to follow if I'm going to be honest about searching for truth and being humble about the process. Because what I thought about atheists at the time was that they're angry and that they're just going to attack theist beliefs just because they're theist beliefs. I didn't come at it from that angle. And so I could totally appreciate the line that you're using there.
Yeah.
So, Drag, if I could ask, how long have you, or I guess, when did you start your YouTube channel? How long have you been doing this?
Oh man, it's almost been 10 years now, I think, I've been on YouTube. Wow. I've not been active, like kind of in like atheist circles and stuff, but I started about 10 years ago.
Okay. So I want to know, because I've tried to go back and haven't really been able to get my hands on the origins, but what is the origin of the Drag G-Man YouTube beef? What is the origin?
That goes back far. So you would have to go back to around 2013. This is around the time where we kind of call it the Ponage era, where you could make direct video responses to people and they would show up right underneath the videos. I'm pretty sure y'all remember that. To grow your channel back then, you kind of had to find your muse. And so G-Man had just kind of gotten popular on the Drunken Peasants. So everyone wanted to try and get a piece of him in order to grow their channel. And I was one of the many people who said, screw it. You know what? I'm one of the few black atheists out here. So he's going to jump at that opportunity, which he did. I had previously engaged with a guy called God's Son Al and some other rooftop guru, something or other guy. And they fell out. They just, no lasting power. They weren't used to people disagreeing with them. And so they just stopped. One guy just kind of quit YouTube altogether. So I guess one notch in atheist victory belt for that. But G-Man, G-Man and I started engaging because he wanted to have as many atheists kind of come at him at once. He found that to be very invigorating, and he enjoyed the challenge because he thought that because he was gaining subscribers, that then had some turnaround for how many people were converting to Christianity or whatever. So I would pop into his live streams and kind of engage with him, albeit poorly. And there was one period of time where he kicked me out unjustly. And I got pissed off and I went to the desert because I was in the military at the time. And I shot a video and I named it The Cowardice of G-Man. So I'm just kind of ranting and raving and just talking about how much of a shithead G-Man is. And he's a terrible example of Christian, yada, yada, yada. And so that video got shared on secular TV and it made the rounds. So if you watch my channel, it'll pop up like herpes every so often. And I don't know why. And so G-Man started to catch wind of, wow, this Dragnauct guy is talking about G-Man. And so he didn't like that. And so he and I then just from then on have kind of been at each other in more ways than one. And it's the rest is history. It's very interesting history, but it's been more advantageous towards me than him.
I was about to say, I'm just so you know, from afar, I'm entertained. I kind of watch it from afar, and it's entertaining. I try. It's kind of like I kind of look at it as WWF. Like I watch it from from afar, like it's a WWF match, and it goes back and forth. But real quick, if I can pause, thank you to everybody that's in the chat. We appreciate you being here, and we're up over 60 people watching right now. So each and every one of you, we appreciate you being here with us tonight. You guys are fucking rock stars, and we're glad you're here with us. And before I ask the last question, we're going to go into Q&A here in a minute with Murder Shed Steve. If you have any questions for Drag or any of the TART team, put those on there. Just make sure you direct it towards the proper person. That way we can ask in order. But go ahead and start shooting those off, and our director and producers will make sure that those things are up there. Oh God, Pastor John, is he here? Never mind. But we'll get it started. But the last thing I wanted to ask Drag is what would you say is your funniest atheist experience, story or experience that you look back at and it was like it still makes you laugh?
Oh, that's funny. So the funniest experience wasn't actually on like the atheist experience campus, and it happened like the night before we went live for the first time, and it was Matt, myself, and my wife, and we were walking in downtown Austin, and we were heading to the magic show. And so there was a railing that we were passing because it was a mini little, I guess, bridge or something on the side of the road. And this railing, which overlooked a little ditch, had a sign on it that basically said that there was feces covered on the railing. And so me and Matt just kind of looked at each other, and I went, wouldn't it have been more intuitive to wipe the feces off than to take the time to make the sign and to hang the sign on the feces covered rail? This is, you want me to come to Austin and move here and do all this, and this is what you showed me, Matt, what's going on here? And so he said, I promise Austin's not like this. And so he's joking, but he's apologizing profusely. And it's been a running gag between us since.
That's funny, especially that you go down, like you said, off campus and off air. That's your introduction to the city. I can imagine the mark that would make. But we want to bring on the next segment of our show, and that would be Q&A. And if we could, let's bring on the weird guy of the group, Murder Shed Steve.
So it's time for Q&A with Murder Shed Steve.
Oh shit. Wait. Can you provide evidence that a god exists? Oh, well, hello, everybody. So yesterday when you guys caught me, using my axe over here, I told you guys I was building my pipe, and here it is, a brand new pipe. Built it myself with my axe in the murder shed. So now we get to enjoy a brand new pipe. How's it going, everybody?
It's going.
There we go.
Dragnauct, welcome to the circus.
Hey, thank you, man. You guys got this thing hooked up, man. And like you guys got it going on.
You guys got your own murderer.
Man.
They call me the enforcer.
Yeah.
Show me what you're working with now. So I've got some questions.
Oh boy.
I just can't get over the intro.
Oh no, the intro's
I
great.
got a question here for Dragnauct from Samuel Doolittle, and something tells me this is a little facetious, but I figured you'd be able to cover this one pretty well. And the question is, if we came from monkeys, why are there still monkeys?
It says came for monkeys.
If we came for, it does say that. If we came for monkeys, why? Because purple pancakes on a hot tin roof. I'm scared of toasters.
Makes sense.
You know what? I'm going to have to take your word for that. Got another question here. What was that, Jeff? Were you going to talk about your hair?
We had to talk about my hair.
Oh, the next one is from GeoSam, and I've got to find it here. So why don't we talk a little bit more about biology?
I was going to say, I mean, are there any Christians out there who deny that human beings are animals? Have y'all ever spoken to anyone who has just flat out denied that humans are animals at all?
Yes. It happens all the time.
And so and I know my go-to is just to say, well, that's irrelevant. That could be true. And, yada, get back to God. But what do you guys usually respond to from like a biological perspective?
I understand where the problem is. People have a colloquial definition, or I should say colloquial usage of the term animal. And so they don't want to be associated with the colloquial usage because it is negative. It has a negative connotation. And that's honestly where it is. So I said, okay, what is your definition of animal? Oh, it's something we keep chained up outside or we keep caged up in a zoo. And I said, okay, cool. What about a classification? Yada, yada, yada. And so I'll start describing kingdom Animalia. And so when I get them to agree to kingdom Animalia, I say, okay, that's cool. This is a taxonomic classification that is called animals. And so I kind of leave it at that.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to handle that one.
I'm not following that answer. I'll tell you that.
Exactly.
Animalia, I've heard of it as Animalia. I would just wonder.
From
that's let's have him answer last and not make us all look bad. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So a question for Dragnauct. Why do you think so many Christians use logical fallacies to support their arguments?
Well, I don't think this is a Christian problem. I think this is a people problem. A lot of atheists that use logical fallacies when you talk to them about social issues, when you talk about politics. This is an issue of our education system, not enforcing the proper way to go about logical, rational thinking, right? So I think that's the fundamental issue.
Because they don't know. They don't know.
Usually they're just kind of ignorant to it.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Thank you.
I got another quick question from Geo Sam as well. He's curious as to how it was hosting or guest hosting on AXP.
Yes.
Yeah. So, we were talking about that before.
That's my bad.
It's fine. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that people don't know about, and I have some pictures that I put up on Patreon, but. There are headsets. There's a little iPad there. They teach you how to use a little console that Matt has to, you're trying to hit it because he's pissed off. You got to learn how to work all that like 30 minutes before the show. And so doing the sound test, getting the earplugs in correctly while they show you, and then right before the show starts, and doing stuff on cue. That all it's just kind of a learning process, and that's probably the most interesting aspect, other than finding a good flow with your co-host, because you can watch Matt for years and years and years and years, which I used to watch Matt religiously, no pun intended, and he is fairly aggressive in conversation, and so I'm used to kind of co-hosting like a myriad of shows throughout the years, but it takes time to kind of get used to your co-host being there. And so afterwards, Matt and I kind of spoke, and he was like, "Yeah, I was trying to give you an in so you could offer more." And I was like, "Yeah, I couldn't really tell when you were giving me a cue, and so I was just kind of reserved." So the second time I came on, I was a bit more aggressive with trying to tackle some of the questions. And so you'll notice that if you watch the first time I was on versus the second time, and it's a learning process.
Now, we have a TART first, and it's actually a question for Murder Shed Steve.
Oh my gosh.
Do you think we should field this question, fellas?
Well, if it doesn't incriminate you or us, then yes.
It sure doesn't. So the cat that smiles back is curious, says that their neighbor is an arborist and says that Brazilian screaming trees are extinct. Now, they are naturally extinct, yes, but they were able to recreate Brazilian screaming trees for consumers, and I am a consumer of those particular trees. Unfortunately, they just got too old, so just had to field that one real quick.
I'm speechless.
And I've got one more. It's a reference to an earlier episode.
So Ben, so are the former screaming trees. They are also speechless now.
Former screaming.
I'll just put it that way.
Yeah. So nobody needs to worry about, when you hear screams and chainsaws coming from my backyard. No big deal. It's just me cutting down those screaming trees. So I do have another question here. We'll call this one the last question of the day from P. And it's what are your thoughts on the prevailing and populist social justice theories, CRT, wokeness, etc., about African Americans and their relationship with others? Thanks.
Yeah, I usually get one of those questions because I don't talk about it very much out in public.
You don't have to if you don't want to. We can skip over that.
No, I would rather let people know. So I was a part of some of the first iterations of a lot of these concepts in a much kind of a microcosm. So specifically, there's a Black Atheist group on Facebook, and then there's a page. The Black Atheist group, run by Mario Stanton, had the first iterations of kind of wokeness and some of these other social justice theories being bandied about every so often. And I saw a lot of the issues that people have with them kind of play out in that small arena. And so when they kind of came to the forefront, I wasn't very surprised when people were sort of just kind of invoking them as ways to win arguments on the internet. But that's not to say that I don't think that there's any kind of merit in them. I do. I think that there are various forms of social currency that all of us carry, especially myself as being a male who has a pretty large physique. I have an inherent advantage over guys who don't have my physique. Being a veteran, there are different types of advantages that are incurred from different aspects, some biological, some not. But the way that these things are referenced in the grand scheme of things is kind of where I find issue. And so in order to kind of get a more nuanced position on this, people would have to kind of present me with scenarios, and then we could kind of talk about it and discuss where I think that, this is acceptable, this is evidence, and this, may or may not be.
Well, thanks for fielding all the questions there, Dragnauct. Appreciate that. And everybody else, TART crew, that's all the questions we have for today. Thanks for stopping by the Murder Shed.
I got a question for you.
Uh-oh.
Will you behave for the next few hours until we see you again?
Sure.
It's enough for me, buddy.
All right. And let's go ahead and get the weird murdering guy out of here. Thank you. He, after a while, he just freaks me out a little bit, and him too. Tommy Benson says, "I hate Jeff."
Yeah. I know you guys told me not to produce, but somebody put him up there, and then I saw that comment, was like, oh, it's
I
like
like how it's
a
Austin's
peanut butter
picture, though. That's
sandwich.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just
So,
brilliant.
yeah, J Mike, you don't get paid to produce.
I don't get paid at all, man. Yeah, they're paying me in faith, from what I can tell, is my currency.
No, you're good. And we do pay you on good faith, on very good faith. But no, before we do wrap it up, Drag, I want to make sure that we get to plug your channel. You've helped us out so much tonight, and we got in a hurry there in the beginning, and I didn't get to do it, so I want to make sure we do it before we go. Please tell us where we can find you, anywhere and everywhere we can find you, anything you have coming up, and take your time to go through that for us and the listeners.
Yeah, it's a good question. Let me see. On Wednesday, I have a Black Atheist Roundtable on Friendly Neighborhood Atheists. So if any of you guys know Ethan from that, I'll be on there.
Oh, you mean the guy that stole our name? No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, no. The name of the actual episode seems to be Black Atheist Roundtable, unless they changed it.
No, we've been going back and forth, just joking with him on that. So.
Oh, okay. No, give him shit. You should.
Yeah.
But, so I'll be there. I think that's at 8 p.m. Central. I might have the time wrong. If you type in Dragnauct, I'm the only Dragnauct you'll find on the internet. It's a portmanteau. It's a custom name. So. If you have a hard time finding me, my content may not be to your liking. I'm not so much into getting in and debating and all that kind of stuff anymore. I'm more so just about lambasting idiots who have little to no introspection and use religion as a cudgel or a shield, kind of from their actions. So I am, readily available if people want to, just kind of chat and pick my brain about certain things. I typically don't talk about biochemistry and stuff like that, honestly, because it's boring. I'm just going to be honest with you. Biochemistry is boring. But if people do want to discuss how to have better conversations, how to improve what I've learned over the years, I'm more than happy to kind of come out and help. And if you want some of the old school great debate folks to kind of come and give you a challenge, I have a whole host of them who are ready to give you guys a challenge, whether they're theists or atheists or whatever.
Okay, very good. And then last thing I'll ask before we start to wrap up here, and just in a short 3, 4, 5 sentences, for someone trying to start a YouTube channel and they want to be a part of the atheist community and make an impact, in their area and what they're doing, what's maybe 1 or 2 things you would tell them to do or not to do?
Kiss Matt Dillahunty's ass. Definitely first. Definitely do that. No, I'm joking. Don't do that. So, because people do that, I would say work on finding kind of where your niche is. And too often do people try to do everything. There's somebody's channel that I like, but they try to do a little bit too much at once. I suggest that people find whether they want to focus on textual criticism and then kind of have philosophy to know, what fallacies, not to make and be able to make very simple syllogism just to kind of help conversation. Or you kind of like me and you want to focus more on the science and just kind of tackle younger creationism, but then have the philosophy, again, to kind of edify yourself in that area. But then you might want to stay away from textual criticism unless you have taken time to actually read the Bible, understand some of the languages, not maybe as well as Dr. Josh Bowen, but understand the actual literature that theologians have put out for that. But try to stay in your lane as much as possible and don't overextend yourself. And do not, someone did this recently, do not start making claims about what this said or what this is the case unless you have very specific examples. I put my foot in my mouth a number of times by just casually mentioning something and then someone going, hey, where's the source for that, buddy? Or where'd you hear that? And it's whoop, don't have it. Yep. So that is something that will save you every single time. You don't
the nature of memory lends itself to misremembering things. So me, it's like, unless I read about it recently or refreshed my memory, I'm like very seldomly putting information out there. That's niche.
Yeah. No, that's definitely something that just keep an eye on. And then there was one other thing. Oh, growing the channel. Now with sort of how they're running the algorithms and stuff like that, there's a list of naughty words that you're not supposed to use. So being an atheist channel, it's kind of, those certain words, secular, atheist, Christian, those are on the naughty list. So you're going to have to try and grow in a different arena, but you have to figure out what type of audience you want. Do you want the audience that value erudition, people who are looking to hear from folks have a background in philosophy, or folks that have a background in biology and just sort of learn? Or do you want it to be a discussion kind of arena where you have people come in, kind of like Empathetic Atheists, where people are listening for the discussion? Like, it's not a shit show, but they're there to sort of maybe glean information, but that's not their primary reason. And have to network. You have to be able to network with the Guileless Engineers and the Shannon Q's and the Mr. Atheist and stuff like that. And so especially if you're trying to grow and have more subs. I mean, that's unfortunately one of the aspects. You don't have to kiss anybody's ass. I didn't kiss ass to get on AXP, and I told Matt I wouldn't go kiss his ass. Matt wouldn't let me kiss it anyway if I did, hypothetically. But you can network, and you can be upfront, say, hey, here's what I'm trying to do. I want to network. Be very upfront with it, and don't let it become about your ego and yourself. Far too many non-believers jump on these platforms, and they're trying to prove to everybody and themselves that they're somehow the king dingaling, and they're not. Just don't be that guy or gal.
Well, and just so you know, we have a little help here. Speaking of this topic, as we got a Q&A going to this, we have somebody actually that you're familiar with, Drag, that's going to join us, and the rest of the team will jump back on screen here. But I know you were part of the Daily Atheist Morning Show with Chris Mallard, and we have the one and only Chris Mallard here with us, and he's jumping on. He's done a great job of growing a great atheist channel, and let me get this right, that Chris does his thing with the thing at the place, at all the places, all the times.
I do the thing at the place with the people.
We're like,
With the stuff.
let me put it this way. Chris might get this reference. We're Tin Man, and you are that guy that like Tin Man was calling out to, who can read everybody's thoughts, right?
Really?
So you are now on board. You're now part of us.
Awesome.
Yep. So
Thank you.
Yep.
All
Use a little
right,
Star
how's it
Trek
going?
reference there for you.
Star Trek. Yes. Hey, Drag. How's it going? Oh, that Tin Man.
Yeah,
Oh,
that Tin
I
Man.
get it. I get it. I had a Star Trek stroke. Thank you for that one. Drag, how's it going, buddy?
It was doing all right, man. It's nice to see you again.
Nice seeing you. Yeah. It's late for me.
I see. Yeah, I'm surprised, man. You got a show in like 6 hours, though.
I know. Yeah. It's like, yeah. No, it's not so bad. No, it's not. Actually, I usually take my old man pills at about 8 o'clock. I got a little alert that says take your pills, because I don't remember if I don't have the alert. And then anytime after that, I can go to bed.
There you go.
Yeah. So
Those are your ranty Chris pills.
my rant. That's it exactly. Yes. Hi, Ben. I don't think I've met you before. I think I
Chris.
saw you last night on the show for the first time.
Awesome. Well,
It's my
good to
first
meet
time
you.
to see you.
It's very good. to meet you. Yeah. Sorry, I think there's a little delay there.
Yeah, just a little bit. Well, it is what it is. We're used to it. So, hi guys. Thank you for having me this evening.
Absolutely. So for everybody here, we have around 60 people on here right now. This is Chris Mallard, and he's the host of the Daily Atheist Morning Show. And if you don't know him and you don't know his channel, take like 5 or 10 seconds to go over to that. And the links are in the comments right now. Go over that and give him a follow. Give all his videos a like. And make sure that you're subscribing and listening to Chris. He's got great content, great guests, and he really on Monday he is a badass co-host. I'm just telling you. So make sure you go like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, every day of the week I have a different co-host. Some days, and we have different themes. Wednesday can sometimes be cannabis themed if we've got somebody who's ready to drop some knowledge about cannabis or weed. Fridays we usually have Cynthia McDonald on the show. She talks African American issues in America, racial issues, stuff like that. We usually cover with her. Sunday or Saturday we do Sci-Fi Saturday. Oh, Miss Leanne is wonderful. She's got like a sci-fi necklace thing. She's just amazing. We do Sci-Fi Saturday. Come nerd out with us. So I didn't mean to take up the show. What are we talking about? What's the topic? Drag is the topic.
No, Chris. I'm going to ask you what I asked Drag at the top of the show.
Okay.
Chris, who is the greatest rapper alive?
I am. Is this a trick question? What I miss? Huh? I don't want to do that in front of everybody, make y'all look bad.
Exactly.
Greatest rapper of all time. Okay, that would be a tough one, in my opinion. All right, don't get mad now. Y'all aren't going to get mad with me, right? I'm going to have to say Tupac.
Okay.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Did you say alive?
Did you? I'm sorry.
I said
he's really alive, living on the moon.
Oh, right.
They took him out.
Some people do think he's alive, so maybe.
No, okay, all right. Alive. Hell, I have no idea, brother. No idea. 21 Pilots, they rap a little in their song. Does that count?
Oh my god!
That was the best answer ever.
People are unsubbing so fast. We're like, this idiot.
I think we gained subs, honestly. And if we did, that's a shame if we didn't.
Hey, I will say 21 Pilots is better than him saying Justin Bieber.
They just Linkin Park fit that description then too.
Yeah, no, I have no idea really, to be honest. I'm a creature of certain habits. I listen to the same music all the time for a long time. Like, man, there was quite a while I was stuck on, what's her name? Adele. It was like Adele and that little guy. He's really short, sings to the moon.
Murder
Bruno
Chef Steve.
Mars. No, Bruno Bruno Mars. Then I got stuck on Les Mis. I walk around here singing Les Mis, various parts of Les Mis for 2 or 3 years. So the wife took me to see it at the Pope Joy Hall. She was in tears minutes into it. I didn't get it because I couldn't really hear anything. Went home, watched it with Hugh Jackman, bawled like a baby. Been loving it ever since. Sing it all the time. Look down. Oh yeah, absolutely. So, Just Jeff is here.
Just Jeff.
The Jeff of Justness is here.
Always looking miserable, and always muting himself.
So, by the way, we're starting the new movement. Hashtag mute Jeff, or hopefully hashtag Jeff will realize that he's still muted.
Murder Shed Steve.
There's a short little guy that.
Chris, you remembered my name.
I did. This time it was Murder Shed Steve that one time. It is on the screen. Jeff, thanks, brother. I was doing good, man.
That is a good first step to survival, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is it coming from Murder Shed Steve? Yeah, that's high praise. So what's going on this evening?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, just doing a TART show.
Gotcha. Letting your hair down.
That's all he's got on his
Understood.
Just doing a TART show. And I just noticed that Jeff, myself, and Steve got the wardrobe email, and Mike and Ben did not. So that's good shit. Way to go, guys. But no, Chris, we obviously drags us. So we talked about the greatest rapper alive. We talked about that. We talked about drag where he's at with schooling and everything, and then we talked about YouTube and presence there and some other conversations. So really at this point, if anybody else has any, and we talked about G-Man. I had to ask about G-Man.
Everybody
asked about G-Man.
But what I wanted to know the latest developments is G-Man taking money and saying he wasn't taking money, and then there's video proof that he's actually taking money. So I was a little intrigued on what was really going on. So we talked about that, and there Drag today provided video evidence that G-Man is actually taking money, so he's full of shit.
From whom?
Oh, from the people that he claimed was not giving him money in the first place, that actually gave him money a year ago and spawned the whole series of videos that I've been making for the past 3 weeks, in fact.
Oh, I see. I got you.
And not
Put
that
the Pastor John thing up. Put it up.
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
Pastor John said something mean about me.
Oh.
I agree. I agree.
That's
I mean,
not bad, John, but
It's a low bar set. Jeff is the worst. So this is, typical Christian persecution of atheists.
well,
That's
it's
all I have to say. We are the most persecuted religion in the world.
I'll be careful. Pastor John will clip that out and use that against you on TikTok.
well. What's funny, if you put two pictures of John and Jeff next to each other, I'd swear they were fucking brothers.
You're doing what to each other?
Maybe we're the same person.
John and
Could be.
Jeff.
Could be. Yeah, you have to put it together. Sorry, we got distracted there. No, and then I think Chris, I asked Drag his funniest memory being involved with the atheist experience. It had nothing to do with the studio. It was a little trip he had his first time down in the city. So that's kind of what we talked
That's
about
right.
in a short story. What we've talked about tonight. But Chris, what do you want to talk about, man? You're a guest now. What do you want to talk about?
Thank you, but you've kind of caught my attention. Yeah. Hey, Drag, how did it go? Did you enjoy your atheist experience?
Oh yeah, no, I enjoyed. Honestly, I enjoyed the trip to Austin and hanging out with Matt than the actual show. I mean, it's the same stuff I've been doing for years, man. Just talking.
Oh yeah.
People who tell me that they have a magical deity following them around and making sure they don't masturbate. And so it's like you can only hear that so many times before you go, all right, let me hear your story. Oh, you think so too? Okay, cool. Tell me how you know that. Oh man, you really, 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 really know it, and no one can ever tell you any different. Okay, cool. All right, but you want to tell me? Okay, cool. All right. So it becomes kind of monotonous after a while, except when you get the crazies who tell you that this entity speaks to them and is actively speaking to them as you're on the phone with them, and then Matt ruins your opportunity for a great joke. Screw you, Matt. Screw you, man. I'm not coming back.
These guys are always ruining my jokes.
I see.
All the time.
Yeah.
Hard to work with guys like that.
See, nobody laughed.
We're in charge of the show now. Oz is gone.
Yeah, he is a weak bladder. No, I'm just kidding.
It's true.
He's got a child's bladder.
Yeah, but next week on the show, we'll be doing a push-up contest between Mike and Oz.
Really? Which Mike?
The buff,
whichever one shows up.
the very buff one being me.
The buff.
See, Mike has a better power play ratio
that's
right
right.
now.
Let's get
That's right.
get a zoom in on that warlock. That's right.
Yeah, the hammer.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like Drag. I'll show up to shows without my shirt on. I just really didn't want to make everybody feel uncomfortable this
Didn't
time.
want to intimidate them. Yeah.
Plus, Drag already won me some money because I bet everybody. I go, Drag will show up without a shirt. Okay,
That's an easy bet.
and he did, and I won that bet. And now Jeff owes me a dinner at Ted's Montana Grill.
There you go. He showed it. Well, see, that's the deal. All right, wait. You said he would show up without a shirt?
Yep.
And then I said, why don't we all take our shirts off?
Because he wanted to flex on me was the reason, because he knows.
Oh, yeah.
I was ready
of
to
course.
take my shirt off.
He wanted to intimidate the tallest hog in the trough. I
He
understand.
might know
clearly.
he might know biology, but he doesn't know which one is the biological specimen of glory here. Okay.
Yeah, it's very deceptive, but JMike is actually 8 feet tall. So he might look
Yes.
small on camera, but
When did you
Yes.
start going back to school for biology? Was it like within the last 4 years?
No. So that's a good question. I got out of the military 2014, and I want to say so mid 2014 I got out of the military. Early 2015 I started going back to school again. I went to community college and ended up doing a lot of credits there.
What was your path out of high school? Like when you got done with high school, did you know what you wanted to do? Did you ever think you were going to do biology?
Oh, hell no. No, that's actually an interesting story. So after Hurricane Katrina destroyed my home, my job, and everything, I had to go and live with family members in between kind of being homeless. And I convinced my aunt to let me finish high school up in Benson, North Carolina. And this is around 2006. I want to say, yeah. So I graduated high school around 2006 there, moved to Mississippi with my parents because they had found a house by then. And then I went to a community college there for like 1.5, 2 years. And I went for business administration because I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. And then I took one course in psychology. I was like, oh my God, I love psychology. I could do this. I could help people. No. So I transferred to a four-year university. I moved to Lafayette, Louisiana to transfer to University of Louisiana at Lafayette. I did, maybe a little over a year there, and then figured that, you know what, I don't have the discipline to continue on this path, and I don't have the drive. So I stopped going to school, and I still have that debt, by the way. And so I just worked full time at Home Depot. And so around 2011, 2010, I joined the military. From the military, then went back to school. And so now I got associate's degree in general studies. Now I'll have my bachelor's degree in molecular, cellular, and biotechnology. And then I'll be this fall working on my master's degree in molecular biotechnology.
I noticed that a lot of people, and this isn't everybody, so before someone's like, but my sister, went blah, blah, blah. But a lot of people, when they take a job in their 20s,
My sister took a job in her 20s.
Shut up. They don't, especially when they're out of college, and they think that it's a career field, and it all changes when you hit like that late 20, early 30, what I like to call the quarter life crisis, where I think a lot of times you kind of struggle in your 20s, and that struggle is how we kind of build some of what makes us who we are, who we're going to be, and that doesn't settle until your 30s-ish. And I'm sure that this will change as I get older too, my opinion of these things. But so I went to school for art. I went to school at Art Institute in Atlanta for video production. And then I moved from Georgia to Denver, which is a way different city. And while I was in Denver, one of the girls that I worked with was a geology major. And talking with her for a while, and I always wanted to be something in the sciences. So I always wanted to be an astronaut or something like that when I was a kid. And until I learned about math.
Yes.
And then I was like, oh, I can't be an astronaut because I don't know math, basically is my thought process.
Yes.
Anyway, I talked with her, convinced me to go to school for geology. And I actually started taking math classes at the collegiate level that I would not normally have taken, like, college algebra or stats or some of these classes. And I went in with a completely different mindset. And being a little bit older and knowing, kind of how I think and what to think and kind of, fixing that process in my head and actually not listening to what people told me that I can't do math or that you're not good at math. And I was able to hit those classes and really make high 80, like 89, 90s, in math classes that I would have never thought I would ever take. Yeah, maybe it's a confidence thing that you build, later in life, that you just become more confident in what you do or don't know or can't do.
I think that's a part of it, and you bring up a really good point. One of the biggest sort of stumbling blocks for me was the math. It's like, oh man, I got to do calculus, I got to do statistics, and to me, these were like almost insurmountable obstacles in my way. And it's funny, the reason why I gained the confidence to actually do that is I literally had to climb a mountain. And I know that sounds really weird, but if you look up Tiefort Mountain, and it's spelled Tiefort, and it's in California, I had to climb that mountain and then go, I am afraid of going back to school to do what I've always wanted to do ever since I was a kid, which was be a scientist, because I can't pass a course or two. And it's like, but I can climb this mountain and almost slip and die a few times. But it's like, this doesn't make any sense. And so that's what caused me to get the confidence I needed. But the turnabouts for when I sort of said, you know what, being a soldier is cool, but I don't really do this anymore. I was doing a detail up at the headquarters, and I was cleaning the latrines, and there was this abnormally long pubic hair that I'll never forget. It still haunts me to this day. And having to clean that out of the stall, said, you know what, there's probably something else I could do in life. There's probably something somewhere that would not involve me cleaning off that pubic hair. There's someone who enjoys this stuff, but it's not me. And so those very defining moments kind of led me to where I am now.
Yeah. And sometimes it takes that push. I can think back to losing a job or getting my position being eliminated at my job, pushing me towards things like going to school to get certain stuff done. And sometimes you got to have those moments and make the best of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you guys say is exactly what happened with me. Was I dropped out of school like 2013 because of a calculus class. I was just like, yeah. I literally was like, this ain't happening. I just gave up, and it was so much easier for me just to say nope. And I think it took until I had almost like a debate with a flat earther, so to speak. That's great. Where I didn't really actually know how to defend myself. And so I walked out of that conversation going, well, shit, is the earth flat? Because I didn't do a good job defending globe earth. And so I went home and I researched this. And when I actually understood how I could get, certain people to get like on different geographical locations and then get the angular size of the sun or all these concepts and understanding how an equatorial mount works, or gyroscopes work, all these things, it was so cool for me where I was like, okay, but how does an equatorial mount work, more specifically? And then I looked into it, and everything, the way that we describe it is a lot with math. And so I think I could finally place its value in the world, where it wasn't just like this chore or something, where it was like, it was as easy for me to say, let me go back and do calculus, as it was for me to say no, because I was just now like, that was what I wanted. The same way me going, I don't want to do this, was as easy as that. And there's some kind of like paradigm shift there that I can't put my finger on myself, but I think you guys lay out a really good point. Sometimes
so if you're in your 30s and you think that you're stuck where you're at, fuck that, get off your ass and do something about it.
Yeah,
that's the more.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah, but wait, there's more. But wait, there's more.
There is. A lot of people don't possess that maturity at a younger age, and that's sometimes just what it is. Yeah. There are people in this community, right? If you say that you want to go back to school, I'm just going to be completely honest. If you want to go back to school and you're my age and you're concerned, if you reach out to people, it'll make its way around. People will help you go back to school. Like that, don't let money to be the issue.
Yeah,
money shouldn't be the issue. I went back to school and I haven't had to pay a penny yet. I've actually gotten paid to go to school because I did the research to look at all of the stuff.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
I did the same thing. I went to a tech school to gain a special set of skills, and I am now paid pretty well for that set of skills.
What is that?
Bone saw etiquette.
Well, go ahead. I did too.
There's a hitman college.
Bone saw etiquette.
There is. A lot of trade
all my
schools,
saws are immaculate. Thank you very much.
Very well when you get out, and I think that's something that a lot of people look down upon, like tech schools and trade schools, but those are high-paying jobs, and they're. Mm-hmm. I hate the term. What's that about labor that's not educated? That. I can't remember the term, but
skilled labor.
Skilled labor, yeah, unskilled labor.
Unskilled labor, okay.
Like that's a thing, no, that's there's no such thing in my opinion as unskilled labor. Like these people are very intelligent. And I think one of my biggest downfalls being a part of the public school system was listening to what people told me. And if I had more self-confidence in myself, I would have told them, fuck that, I'm going to be an astronaut, or I'm going to be that anyway. I suffer from really bad dyslexia. And so for me in math, it wasn't that I didn't understand the concepts. It's not that I didn't know the formula. It's that I couldn't go from a piece of paper to my calculator back to the piece of paper without making a mistake that I didn't even know about.
Just transpose numbers. Yeah.
I just flip numbers. And if you flip numbers in a formula and entering and exiting, stuff. So I actually took a college class, and the teacher that taught it, very good. This is recently, or a few years ago in Denver, and she taught statistics out of Excel. And in Excel, it was just like, it made more sense. And she was like, well, why would you do this extra work that when you can just put it in Excel, let Excel do the math, like you can see everything I'm like, that. Why haven't I been doing this all along when it comes to some of this stuff? So it's just, I don't know why we do that to kids. That if they don't do well in a certain standardized test, then therefore the issue is them versus trying to find a better way to reach them.
Yeah.
And reading about dyslexia helped me understand how much better I am at all kinds of other stuff, that I find super easy. So
this is finally circling back into where maybe I can contribute something as I'm a music educator. And so I spend all my time around, meetings where administrators are talking about, reaching individual people. It comes down to things like class sizes and having paraprofessionals in the room to go one-on-one with those individuals. And I think just to include Chris a little bit, did I read that you are a self-taught piano player?
Oh yeah, I did the piano, cello. I'm mostly about the cello now.
And cello. Okay. What
matter of fact,
process
this
did you
morning
follow?
Was the Suzuki process, the Suzuki cello. And I just taught myself. I bought a couple of books, watched a couple of videos. This morning is because I've been out of practice. I had carpal tunnel surgery on both hands, and that was a few months I didn't play, and then got out of it, started building the channel and doing the morning show, so I got out of it. So this morning, as a way to get back to it, during the morning show, nobody else could hear this but me. I was listening to Suzuki Book 1 cello. And the only thing, I just got busy today and forgot to get back and practice, and because I've been through 3 books of Suzuki cello.
I do the Suzuki violin.
Awesome sauce. Yeah.
Well,
and then, of course, there's other
curious about
songs
that.
like we were talking Les Mis. So there's a couple of songs from Les Mis that I play on the cello that I've just either bought the sheet music for or picked out and play them. Just kind of.
And
I did piano a little bit, yeah.
And that process of self-educating about music, it's a lot like, so me not being a philosopher or a person of the sciences, the most I've gotten into science, I started a master's degree in music education. And so I learned how to read scientific papers. And so now when people cite scientific papers, I can critique them with open eyes, even though I'm not an expert in any of those fields. So, but when I think about self-education, I think of music as a great analogy for that. And so it's hey, how you hear a great piece of music and you can recognize it? Well, when you get down to the nuts and bolts, it's very, very different and it's very technical. So
we could probably do a whole show about an education system in the U.S.
Absolutely. And that would be one of the only areas where I'd feel remotely
well, I have a friend of mine that's a teacher. She's got her master's degree recently in teaching, and she's in a very small area because her husband's in the military. So she teaches where he lives or where he has to go. And basically it's, think of Southern Georgia, North Florida area. And the classroom sizes are, 40 to 60.
Yeah, that's impossible to work with.
She's getting students in 4th grade or 3rd grade that can't read. How is she going to fix that in a class size of 50?
I was substitute teaching one time at a high school. I had a 10th grader. The answer was in a history book, a paragraph about that long. And he started crying because I was like, look, okay, what does this sentence say? And he started crying because he just could not read it, and it was embarrassing. And that tells you everything you need to know.
The topic here is whatever have you not been watching the show? Come on, bro.
The topic is whatever the hell we want the topic to be.
Read the title.
The topic be.
There's a cartoon, The Angry Beavers. We've seen it.
So we're going to have a final thought here, and do not get our final thoughts. No, that's Murder Shed.
That's what you look like.
Don't get that asshole off the screen. Don't get our final thoughts here. Yeah, mute his ass. Our final thoughts confused with Jerry Springer's final thoughts because they were completely different. And usually we bring our guest up with JMike when he does it. So if we can bring Drag up there, and if he has any comments or questions or anything, he can do that. But again, finally, thank you, Drag, for being on with us tonight. And if you don't know We've had the links in the chat, and we'll put them in the description below where you can find Drag. And we appreciate, man, your contribution to our channel tonight. You've brought a bunch of viewers and listeners tonight, and we are super, super appreciative of that. And we'll wrap it up, and let's get to the final thoughts with the Jesus Christos.
Yes, sit back, unwind, because it's Final Thoughts with Jesus Mike.
Apparently, we have a third guest that just hopped in during the middle of that. So I kind of wanted to go over with, I wanted to not necessarily leave Chris out, but maybe if you have any kind of thoughts that you would think on this, but definitely is more on the science-based thing. So hopefully I don't leave you out on this. But Drag, I find the hardest problem for a lot of people that may not believe in evolution or things like that is they kind of categorize things within like kind. You hear creationists use like, well, I don't see this kind go to that kind, or and all these different terms that they use. What do you think is the problem with understanding speciation? And would you cite examples like maybe like the mud skipper fish or things like that in what examples would you potentially use for speciation?
So when you typically hear people talk about the issue with using the term species or the insistence on them using kind, which is a fairly nebulous term, the instinct that most people have, most non-believers, is to simply just fight them tooth and nail. You must adhere to speciation via this methodology, and you have to use the term species. And so I think resisting that urge is the kind of the first step and how you win them over in a sense. The issue isn't necessarily what you think it is. The issue at hand is that what they're looking for when they talk about macroevolution, they talk about this species versus that species, they're literally looking for Pokemon evolution. And I say that because you'll hear, when did this creature turn into this creature, or they're looking for some type of gross anatomical change between this organism that has this phenotype versus this one. And that's not how things work. You have a population that changes over time, and then you can see that most often not through these phenotypical changes, right? So I would just say, you know what, let's get rid of the label. The label's not important. If you want to call it a kind, okay, cool. Tell me how this label is informative, because that's what we're after. The labels have to be informative. If it's better than species, give me the advantages of using kind versus species. How would we classify something that's difficult like monotremes? These are mammals that lay eggs. How would you classify that as a kind? If the classification does not differ from species, then it's not very informative. Now, is it? There's nothing that's added to it. So I would work it at those angles. Talk to them a little bit about that, the differences between the two labels. Okay, you know what? There's some frustration. Get rid of labels, and then say, hey, how about this? How about we talk about the core issue? You want to see this thing turn into this thing. That's not how this necessarily works. And here's an extra trick that I use. What evidence would you accept?
Yeah.
If I showed you? Because like I said, I could name about 5 genes that would lead to gross anatomical changes. Do you want me to show you those genes? I've yet to have anyone say yes.
And maybe to the same effect, like do you think like asking them what on another side of that, it's like, what do you think it would look like? Like, what do you think the speciation would look like to you? Like in your model, like to the person who's not understanding evolution, do you think it'd be valuable to ask them, like, what would you expect? And then maybe you could kind of compare the two of what the evidence they would want to see versus what they expect. Do you think that's a valuable conversation?
You could go that route. That would at least help you parse out where their mind is, and so you could kind of see where the issues are. You're probably not going to get a very informed answer at all, because most people wouldn't be able to tell you, like, about what direction that this population is going. And most people don't even understand evolution on that level. So if you wanted to try and throw that in there just to kind of get the conversation going, then that would be interesting. But I would pay very close attention to how they're answering and be very, very, very charitable with that.
Sure.
That's one of the key things, because again, there are a lot of non-believers that love to try and just point score. They're just looking to, you're wrong, you're stupid.
Yeah.
And then just that doesn't really go anywhere. Okay, cool. Yeah. That's like, if you just wanted to dunk on them, sure, you could do it in less words.
Yeah, exactly. And Chris, for you,
Yes.
do you think that, well, I was going to ask you a specific question.
Actually, because here's what, you did. Yeah. Okay, yeah, because you went, here's what happened. You went, Drag, I'm going to ask you a smart people question. Chris, you're welcome to drool on your microphone if you want to.
but you see why I did that is because
no, he did great.
What makes me not part of the drool on the microphone crowd? So I just kind of put you in your own little thing that I can attach myself to the wisdom of Drag. So
understood.
It's calculated, but you just gave up my secret sauce, so to speak.
Do I look as smart if I say what he said?
No.
No.
Well, I actually did have a question for you, because you had someone come on, and it's actually a serious question. I would want to end this off with the discussion between you, or maybe just a quick back and forth between you two on this. And Chris, you would do a better job than me. The guy that you had on your channel, he was a biology. I don't know what he was specifically. I can't think of it now. But he wrote. Peddler. Yes, the Woo Peddler. Yes. Could you perhaps like explain to Drag maybe what his position was in terms of him against the rest of the biological community, or the rest of the I think it was evolution he was talking about. What was it specifically?
What he was talking about was the history of the Bible. Why humans needed religion. The biology, quote unquote, the biology of religion. And, on my show, we sing to the choir. I normally have other atheists, and we talk about atheist stuff. I got Drag on. I got all these people. It's pretty rare that I have somebody of a contrary nature on my show. Yeah. I just happened to be passing by Ethan's show one night. He had a guest on who was a guy talking about stuff, and I'm like, hey, you need to be on my show. He said, sure, I'll be on your show. And I said, all right, cool. So he shows up on my show, but I really didn't vet the guy. And it turns out, so he got a degree in biology, a bachelor's degree. Not that that's anything to sniffle at, but you know what I mean. All he would tell me was before the turn of the century, not how far. So it could have been 1972 in biology, right? That's not the deal. That's the only degree he has, and yet he's telling us that all the schools of thought, such as anthropology and those who study theology, archaeotheology, or whatever you want to call, all those people are wrong. They've all got it wrong. He's got the right answer, and here it is. And to be honest, I never could get past that. He has a book he wrote. I had him on the show. We were going to talk about the book, but I got so involved with him and arguing with him about the fact that, dude, you have no right to be talking about this. What's that?
I was so proud of you.
I was trying to be good, but Ethan was just, and Ranty Chris just showed up. I heard the door knocking. Is that Ranty Chris? Sure enough, it was. And I just laid into his ass. I'm like, dude, what gives you the right to, I get, he tried to drop the whole argument against, what is it? That was the argument for authority fallacy. I'm sorry.
Yes. I'm not familiar with him. That's kind of what I wanted to touch upon real quick.
Yeah, but that's a bunch of crap. If I was going, this doctor over here says A, B, and C, then I am appealing to his authority over this person who may not have a doctorate's degree, etc. However, we're not talking about this doctor. We're talking about entire schools of thought. Thousands of people have gone to school and done all the research. This guy hasn't done the research. Hasn't done any of the research, does not know any of the things you need to know to make those decisions. And then just the arrogance to come on and go, you guys got it wrong. I'm the one with the answer. I just couldn't get past it. I just couldn't nod his ass.
As soon as you started describing, I think I see where this guy's going. And so you see this occasionally where people don't know the difference between the reliance upon scientific consensus versus an appeal to authority. That oftentimes you'll see people conflate the two, which they're not the same. And so when I encounter someone like that, I will ask them, so the truth of a matter is based on the evidence that supports it. And correct? Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. And it's not based on any one person. Okay, cool. So if there was a preponderance of evidence, we would lean upon that versus one or two people, correct? And that's just to kind of go over the point. Cool. So what evidence do you have to bring to bear? Where's the preponderance of evidence in the field? What does it say if I were to go to literature? And so the reflex for people like that is go, oh, you're appealing to an authority. I said, well, what authority did I just name that I'm appealing to? So getting people to kind of agree to these sort of like basal terms out on the onset helps you later on in the conversation, especially if you sort of hear little hints of that. And that's something that I've kind of learned to do over time, because it's hard to establish that foundation later in the conversation.
Yeah, I think that's a solid point. That is what I wanted to. Chris, I'm glad you brought that up, because I kind of got lost in just hearing you rehash that, because it was so valuable for me just to listen to. But yeah, that's where I was trying to go to, was his kind of his appeal, that the appeal to authority fallacy that he kind of accused you of, and I'm glad that Drag could touch upon that. Well,
he also tried to bring out, what was it, Jane Austen, and we were talking about, was it Jane Austen? No, Jane Goodall, and saying that she did these things. And after it took minutes, just seconds of research, I'm like, oh, by the way, and then by the way, and dude, you're just wrong. Get off my show. I really, it's people like him that make me because I really need to vet my show, my people better. Because I don't like giving them platforms is all. Hey, not on my show.
It's and I understand that you don't want bad information out there, and I get that. So, but it's
fun.
Honestly, I think it is fun, and I'll say there's value in having people like that on there, because when people randomly throw up this supposed expert in the field, I go, okay, cool. Could you link me to their research? Like, did they have any research in the last 4 years? And that, like, little questions like that will tell you a lot. Just right on the offset. If they haven't actually read any research in the last 4 years, right, still relevant research, then they're probably not the best source in the world.
Yeah.
And then I would sort of kind of ask them, so what research have you actually read on the topic? Versus did you go on Amazon and read someone's self-published book? Because again, this is primary source versus tertiary source, so you can sort of pick apart people's arguments just based on some of those responses, and not have to go too deep into knowing this niche area of whatever.
Yeah, and it kind of utilizes, in my opinion, a good thing to talk about there is like the underdetermination principle in science. I think T-Jump uses this kind of example of the rabbit in the box. It weighs 2 pounds. You could essentially all day long kind of say, you could have any theory to explain what potentially is in that box. I mean, it could be 2 pounds of paper, it could be 2 pounds of whatever. You have all these rival theories that you could always explain. The issue that I find is, if you don't have a testable prediction, we can't, at least a future testable. If there's nothing we can do in the future to test this, to me, it's useless, and it's just imaginary until you can actually demonstrate that it's not ad hoc. And that guy kind of was just like, well, they're wrong, but gave you absolutely no. He didn't falsify anything, and then he also wasn't like, here's why my hypothesis is true, and also here's how you would falsify it, and please beat the crap out of it, because I think Drag would be the first one to agree. That's like what we do. That's what scientists do. I mean, I can't really call myself a scientist, but when a peer hands me code and they want me to look through it, like help them debug it, right? You aren't just going to, go off of your initial thought, but you're going to go through this process, and you're going to actually, analyze the code. You're going to go through these steps, and if I can't, if someone just says it's perfect and they don't show me the code and I can't tell them what's wrong, I mean, that's what we offer to each other all the time. My friend wants me to help him find what a potential issue is, so we can fix it. And everybody's always offering up those types of caveats, so to speak. But I appreciate you guys. Sorry, Chris.
I'm sorry. Well, in this guy's case, I wouldn't have had a problem had he said, this is what I think, instead of opening with, all these other people are wrong and I have it right. Had he not, that kind of thing. And also, I think I wouldn't have had, like Drag says, it's not a bad idea to have people of a contrary nature on your show, woo peddlers or Christians or theists or whatever. It's not a bad idea. As long as I warn them ahead of time that I'm going to be contrary and I'm going to call them out on their woo, because most of the time, if this in this particular case, he wasn't expecting it. He thought it was going to be a lighthearted show. We were going to have a lot of fun, and we were going to talk about his book. But I got so into eating on his ass that we never got to talk about his book, because I'm like, dude, you're just a woo peddler. What are you even doing here?
In fairness, you challenged the beliefs, and I was proud of that. But yeah, again, guys, thank you guys for being a part of my own little segment. So I appreciate that. With that said, Drag, again, thank you for coming on board. Tomorrow, guys, we have a quantum physicist that is coming on. So if you are a theist or an atheist and you think that you understand quantum physics and you don't actually understand that we really don't have a great understanding of quantum physics, then come on board if you think you know, and talk to a quantum physicist and see if you can kind of hash out some ideas with him. He's a very smart lad, and his brother actually does some debates on our show. So yeah, with that said, we love you all. Thank you guys. If you haven't already, please like and please subscribe. We are almost at 1,000 subscribers. It would make us so happy to wake up and see 1,000 subscribers in 3 or 4 months of doing this. Would be just like so cool. We all met on the internet, so this is just helps us, gives us motivation, things like that. So again, thank you. We love you guys. Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to the Atheist Roundtable. Special thanks to Lord Dragnauct for coming on. Don't forget to like and subscribe to his channel. If you haven't, you're probably fucking crazy. And to the Daily Atheist Morning Show, Super Chris, that's Chris Mallard. Don't forget to like and subscribe to him as well. He's 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 days a week, or I think it's 11 on Saturdays. Big shout out to the crew at the Atheist Roundtable.